I wish actors knew. Hey everyone, I'm Matthew Cornwell with Get Taped here in Atlanta, Georgia, one of Atlanta's original audition taping services, which I co-own with my amazingly talented, beautiful wife and best friend, Brooke. This video is part of our interview series entitled, I Wish Actors Knew. And this week, we're talking about makeup. For this interview, I was so excited to sit down with Beth Pilgreen, who is not only a talented makeup artist, but also an actress and my friend. She's so talented at everything she does, and she is so friggin' hilarious. And the point of this series is to ask different departments on set, the ones actors interact with the most, how we as actors could make their jobs easier. And let me tell you, as someone who has over 20 plus years of experience in this industry, I walked away with some huge nuggets of wisdom from each of these professionals in these different departments that will impact how I navigate my next on-set experience. And before we jump in, I invite you to subscribe to our channel so that you can be notified of future interviews that we drop, as well as our normal weekly content. And if you're getting value from this interview or any of the other ones, we also invite you to drop a comment below and share with your fellow actors. Lastly, we offer a free weekly newsletter called The Scuttlebutt, and if you're not already subscribed, check the show notes below where you can find a link to sign up for that. Although we do focus mainly on the Atlanta market, a lot of the wisdom we provide is broader than that and can pertain to you wherever you live in the country or the world. Okay, let's get to the interview. Thank you, Beth, for being here.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
It's we've known each other for, it feels like forever. Yeah. But I wonder what the year was that we maybe first crossed paths.
I took your no, I did your makeup on that film.
Yes.
Where you played a cop.
Funny.
Back in the day. Yeah, I forgot what it was called because they changed the name.
That's awesome. And that does not narrow it down for me because I've played so many cops that, and especially in my early days when I was clean shaven, I played a lot of cops.
You were clean shaven.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's so great to have you here. And I know you both as a makeup artist and also as an actress and just as a friend. So it's sort of a triple pleasure to have you here.
Same.
And so I just want to start, since I know you, but people watching this may not know you, just talk a little bit about your journey to where you are now, specifically in regards to makeup, but also as acting maybe fits in there as well.
Okay. Yeah, I've been doing makeup full-time since 2012, and I started doing bridal, but then somehow I landed into production work because I knew some people who knew that I dabbled in makeup and did bridal stuff. So they were like, well, do you want to just do our video shoot for us on the weekend or whatever? So as time went on, I just kept on doing production work, and then I stopped doing bridal because I couldn't work every day. And I now am full-time in TV. I'm in the union for makeup, but I also do a lot of non-union stuff too, like commercials and industrials, corporate things, live events. But this last year, I did 5 shows, and so I would say I'm more so full-time TV with like a touch of the other stuff now. And so I'm on a break right now until the end of the month when I start my next show back up.
Well, great. Yeah. And so I think you bring a unique perspective, which is to not have just come to makeup by way of makeup, but also sort of that dual track of understanding the talent side of things as well. And which to me made you very uniquely qualified to sort of do what we're doing in this video series, which is speak to actors about things that maybe new actors don't know they should know, and maybe even some veteran actors would be surprised to know as it relates to what makes your job easier. And we're talking to people from all different disciplines on a set, and actors spend a fair amount of time in the hands of the makeup artist. So let's kind of work through it chronologically, that actor's journey in your hands, and then throughout the day, maybe even into coming back to the trailer at the end of the day before they get wrapped or after they're wrapped. But let's start with maybe when the actor first arrives in the makeup trailer, maybe even in terms of, you know, as an actor, you're walking to a trailer, and if it is a makeup trailer that's up off the ground, we of course have watched the base camp PAs, you know, knock on the door.
Oh my goodness, great question.
Take it away from there.
Yeah, it as you would assume, doing makeup on a trampoline is not good for business. The director doesn't want that. Nobody wants like this. But when you're about to step into the trailer, you've got to knock on the door and say, stepping real loud. Like, don't be sheepish about it. We want you to yell it. And then we'll stop with the eyeliner because it is the worst feeling if you're on, like I had a few red lips. I did a glam. My 2 shows ago was high glam. So we're doing some bold lips. And if anyone steps and I have like 0.2 seconds to finish this and then I mess it up. So just let us know. I think that's a great thing to point out. Yeah. So say stepping and then you'll come and we'll put you in whatever chair that you're in. But also it's good to know when you arrive at set, most of the time the AD puts your call time as the start minute of makeup, which I wish it weren't that way. I wish that they would call you at least 30 minutes ahead of time so you can dilly-dally with your actor friends or get acquainted with wherever you're going to be. But I would say don't delay. Like, come immediately, and like if you need to get your coffee or whatever, come early.
That's great. Because there's a lot of classic sort of bumper sticker wisdom of like early, on time is late and early is on time and that type of thing. And I've certainly experienced it many times, the whole range, but the things that stress out the actor is when you arrive perfectly at your call time, like you're saying, and immediately Basecamp PA knocks on you, you get into your trailer, you close the door and there's a knock already and it's like, makeup's ready for you.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, and then they, usually they'll offer the courtesy, like, would you like some breakfast? I can go get it for you. And have it ready for you in your trailer. But then it's if that happens, then you go to hair, makeup, and when you come back, you're cold breakfast. So I think for the sake of your hot breakfast and for the sake of makeup and those other disciplines that are sort of that we collectively call the works, show up a little early so that if you need that decompression time from your travel time to set, or you want to have coffee or breakfast, to not be expecting to have that immediately upon arrival. Expect to start working at your call time, not to be relaxing at your call time. Right. So I think that's a great note. Okay, so let's say that I did arrive early and I'm hydrated. Well, maybe not hydrated. I might be dehydrated if I'm now drinking coffee.
Right.
But I leisurely come to your trailer and I've knocked, or the Basecamp PA has knocked before letting me in. What is maybe some of the next steps that a green actor should expect, or things to watch out for?
I will say, and I'm not going to say this in order, but I can tell a veteran actor when they sit down, and let's say they have colleagues on either side, they are focused. Their face is always this way because they know that we have a certain amount of time, and often it's not enough time. Like us artists would love to have 45 to an hour on every female, but that's not the case. And so we know that every single minute counts. And so they are always looking this way, and they can channel their voice to the left and right, but a professional veteran actor knows to do that, as opposed to like, yeah, I know, it was crazy. That was so fun. And then we're like sweating because we have -10 from what we need. So that's one example. I would say too, something to keep in mind if you are a greener, newer actor is to brush your teeth. You would think that everybody would do that, but they don't. Brush your teeth, wash your face, even if you're somebody, let's say a lot of men that I've worked with, or let's say some men that I've worked with will just splash water in their face. I would encourage every actor, if your face is your commodity, part of your commodity, I would get a skincare routine and wash your face. Get any sort of eye crusties out. Like, don't get up, do the thing, and then just leave, because you've got a mirror right there. You might as well just look in it and make sure that you don't have anything right here. Or like if you drooled on your face, just like polish it up, because we are about to be real up close and personal with it. So I would say newer actors, just be mindful of that. And also, I'm guilty of this sometimes of when I'm working with a makeup artist who is my dear friend, I'll take a picture with her. I'll take selfies with her. But I also notice that some veteran actors, let's say they're a total stranger, though, that makeup artist. They come in, the veteran actors are there to do their work, and they're going through their lines as they should. And if they speak to somebody, that's fine. But the newer actors often, always will be taking pictures often. And it's fun for them. And I'm glad that it's fun because they're coming with a great attitude and they're excited to work. You could just tell sometimes the difference. Just know that every single second counts usually. And maybe I just would be mindful and ask the artist, like, if you have enough time. I don't know, just with the photos and stuff, it just sometimes takes up more seconds if we're stressed.
I think part of that is reading the room.
Reading the room.
In terms of, I've been on sets where your call time's 8 and the PA or anybody from the AD department might be like, so yeah, we're probably not going to get to you till after lunch. So we're gonna just send you has some downtime. We'll send you there now, and then we'll have you go back for touch-ups later. So now you know that you're walking into a very relaxed space.
Yes.
That you're not trying to get 7 principles ready right now, 10 minutes ago, versus I'm being rushed straight to hair and makeup. Didn't even get my wardrobe on yet. It's not even in my trailer yet. It's happening this fast.
Yeah.
And to read the room, and that's not the time to document your life with an Instagram story. Just that courtesy of not assuming everyone, just because you're on a set, doesn't mean that everyone wants to be filmed.
That's true too. And I think reading the room is so important. My last TV experience as an actor was exactly what you just described, super rushed. I didn't even get to eat. I got there immediately to hair and makeup and then straight to set. Just being mindful of like, are people stressed out around me? Should I just be front and center?
Yeah.
I don't know. Being discerning is important in our role too.
Sure. And then speaking of hair and makeup, I think a lot of actors, regardless of how much experience you have, might make the mistake of just assuming they're the same. Or not, which on a very low budget set, they can be, right?
Or non-union too.
Yeah, non-union. Yeah, very much could be someone who is being, especially for guys where maybe they don't need much attention to the hair. So they might ask that makeup artist to just take a look at. But on a full budget set where there are distinct departments and department heads, and now looking at someone like me with facial hair, what is your responsibility with my visage, if you will, versus what is hair's responsibility?
Yes, great question. Because I am makeup and I'm face, I'm in charge of your beard, and I'm in charge of sideburns and the neck. So if I have an actor that has facial hair, I always ask the director ahead of time, because we get there before at least 30 minutes or more. I always ask the director, what do you want? Can I see what he looked like on his audition? Do you want it to look exactly like that? Hopefully the actor will show up exactly like their callback. Some don't know to do that. Some, let things grow out and then I have to trim it or just make sure it's groomed, make sure the neck looks nice and neat, if that's the look that they want. And if they, let's say on their callback, let's say they have some silver, some salt and pepper on their beard, do you want me, director, to color that in, or do you want the salt and pepper? Do you want any sort, I collaborate a lot with whoever the director is to make sure that it's what he wants. If I need to fill in some spaces, if there's patchiness, then I'll do that with maybe an alcohol palette, make sure it just looks dense if they want. But I'm always asking the director, like, what he or she wants ahead of time, and then I will do that with the time that I have with the actor.
Follow-up question. What percentage of the time, because I remember the first time early in my career, I was flabbergasted by, I can't remember if it was hair or makeup that asked me the question, so what are we doing? And in other words, what do you want? What do you want your beard? What do you want your hair? They were giving me the input that I'd never had before.
Sure.
So what would you say is that sort of balance usually between what the director wants versus what the actor thinks is appropriate for their character?
That's a great question. Now, I have asked questions like that on corporate or industrial shoots because it doesn't matter as much. It does and it doesn't. I shouldn't say that probably. But if it's a corporate or industrial shoot, I will ask what their preference is. Like, do you prefer full foundation face? Do you want to be more on the newscaster side or on the anti-shine side? And then I want to gear towards their preference. But if it's TV, like for my last show, my celebrity guest was Will Arnett. So he was my host. And so, of course, whatever he wants, he's going to get. So I actually ahead of time got his products that he wanted and I put it on just like his hair person told me that he prefers. So it matters, I guess, when celebrity guests are into play, you do what they want. But for the most part, if it is a day playing actor, principal actor on a show, I will tell them what I would do on their face and ask if they're comfortable with that. But for my male guests, my male talent, I typically just focus, I don't do full foundation on them. I do more like a skin tint just for color, discoloration. I want to make sure everything looks the same if they have any redness or like hollow under the eyes. And I'll almost always do a little bit, I'll shear out some concealer for them. But I don't want it to be noticeable. I want them to look like they're not wearing any makeup, just not shiny and no discoloration. So I usually run it by them. Is this okay with you? And then they always say yes. And then I do it. Yeah.
Something you said in there makes you want to kind of back up. And let's go back to this idea that maybe I do have a skincare regime, which in my mid-40s I finally do.
Thank you.
So I'm showing up with at least that minimum amount of moisturized skin. But what are some other potential red flags, just in terms of health-wise, that will make your job easier? And whether it's, this is maybe just planting the question a little bit. For instance, a night of drinking right before set, is that going to show up obviously in your...
What a good question. Yes. Yes, it will. I would say for many reasons, do not go out drinking the night before or even 2 nights before, especially if you're over 40. If you're 24, 2 nights before probably isn't going to show up as much as it would if you're 40 or above. Catherine Dyer actually taught me that years ago. She, I think, is 10 years older than me, and I used to do makeup for her headshots a lot over at Drama Inc. And she would tell me, like, once you're over 40, if you have Mexican the night before and you eat a lot of chips with salt in it, you could easily be puffy under your eyes because of the salt. And the alcohol, kind of the same thing, especially liquor. If you have a lot of liquor the night before as opposed to beer or wine, all of the above is not good. But liquor specifically is going to make your eyes just look a little more hollowed or puffy. It's just not going to look like you. So I would encourage everybody to take the job very seriously. It's a privilege to book and to be on set that day because that is why you're there. And we are glad to have everybody, but take it seriously, Mm-hmm. So that is a great thing to point out. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, which then could also factor into talent that is going to be playing for multiple days or weeks.
Yeah.
And everyone wants there to be continuity.
Yeah.
The ego inside me wants me to look as good on day 5 as I did on day 1. The director and everyone involved in the project wants there to be continuity in the visual. And so I think that's a good note of hey, if you've booked a weekly on something, just because your friend's birthday is halfway through that, be careful about what you do at that friend's birthday party, drinking or staying out late, and then just waking up with a lot less sleep. I think a sleep routine could also help, a consistent one, which can be hard with 5 a.m. call times and stuff like that. Cool. Well, so then anything else in that first visit to you? I have
had so if I ever have a host who I have her every single day or him every single day, if you happen to have too much to drink the night before, or you had way too many salty chips, because the salt not only affects your under eyes, but it can puff up your entire face. It can make your hands swollen. We do typically, I always have under eye patches that I keep in the refrigerator. I don't know every makeup artist if they're going to do that. They should if you're on a show. You can at least remedy a little bit, but it is super important to keep your continuity. Oh, here's what I was going to say too. Sunburns. So if you're filming in the spring or summer, I don't ever get tan. But if you have the skin type that can tan easily, and let's say you're off for a week, don't go outside without sunscreen on, because you're going to look different, and it's going to make your artist's job a little bit harder, because she's going to have to be like, she's going to have all your colors, but you don't match them anymore. And so she'll have to neutralize the red, and like, it's a little bit harder, and we still only have the time that we do. So just really be mindful about sun when you're in the spring and summer, fall, and if you have skin like that tans really easily or burns really easily.
Yeah, I think specifically here in the Southeast, there's a couple ways that could really manifest, which is you have a landlocked city like Atlanta, and an actor books a job out in Wilmington on the beach.
Yeah.
And so they drive in or they fly in the day before for a wardrobe fitting. And so then they have the whole afternoon. They're like, I'm going on the beach. And yeah, and then flash forward to their, and that even for day one in the makeup chair, that could just become a problem. That they very obviously, did you get sun yesterday?
Yeah, I always ask that, and I try and be cheeky about it, but like, don't forget your face is your job. So a part of the skincare regime that we've been discussing, I think every single actor needs to have sunscreen, and they need to wear it every day, because if you're pale like me, you will get melasma on the left side of your face, because that's your driving side. So if you have more melasma on this side, like brown spots, than on this side, I don't know. It's just something that women are self-conscious of. And I've had, I worked on a celebrity talent who did not laser it off, but she had a lot of melasma from childbirth, actually. And so I did a lot of covering with that, but sunscreen is so important. You can't help it if your hormones with childbirth causes that, but you can help with sunscreen. So I would encourage everybody to use it and wear it daily.
So, I do think that everyone is somewhere on that spectrum of awareness when it comes to sun exposure. And, but just there's a recurring theme here of treating this job, not just what happens between action and cut, but everything else about this job as a job,
yes,
as being professional, as being sort of disciplined with some sort of routine. And actors are I think, uniquely susceptible to not having that routine, because for every other discipline, you're there for the run of show. So there is a routine that you get into just with your work when you're on a show. Whereas that actor, it feels like this vacation of going to set for that one day or those 2 days. And so I think it's harder, especially for newer actors where this is a new experience, to understand how serious everyone is taking their disciplines.
It's really, really serious. And I would say, too, for my female talent, I always would bring my own makeup to set if I were them. And I do. Because sometimes we were discussing the artist being rushed earlier. That is real, because the planning just didn't work out and, set is ready. And so they don't care that we're not. They just want to start filming because we have a long day ahead of us. So it can be quite a help if the actor says, well, I brought my own makeup. And if they can help us out in any way, let's say they're backed up and we have a lot of talent to get through way quicker than we should. For that reason, it's nice if the talent brings her own makeup. The guy is always going to be fast, so I'm not worried about him. The grooming of the facial hair, just like your callback, is important. But for the female talent, I always, when I am in their shoes, I always bring my own makeup, because also sometimes, and my artist friends would frown on this, but I've been on set before and the artist, I'd say this has happened 3 times to me, the artist didn't quite make me look good. And so, I'm not saying to go and fix it in your trailer or back at the bathroom, but I've done it. And you just be real subtle about it. But if they didn't blend right here and on any photo you've seen ever, they always blend, the artist may just not have been great at it. If you go to a small city, for example, that happened to me once, and this artist just didn't particularly do it well, in my opinion. So I just went to the bathroom and I buffed out her eyeshadow a little bit, and my under lashes were like spiders, and so I got rid of some of that too, to make it all more subtle, because it was just a banking commercial. It's not that big of I'm not a bridesmaid, you know what I mean? So, and I went and did the big thing, and I said, just so you know, I did adjust a couple of things, but I hope that you still like it. I just blended here and under here. Is that okay? I think that's important too, is to let them know. But by no means should the female talent go add eyeliner and add a bunch of stuff, because we tend to know what the lighting is going to be like. And we do tend to ask the director things ahead of time. So don't go and add a lot of stuff. But if it's like way too much and you look like a Halloween character, for example, I have fixed it before. So I am saying that you should just have your makeup. Yeah.
I think maybe to tie that up in a bow, it's just if you know you have a discerning eye from experience, either
Yes.
as a female,
How about that?
you know what your makeup should look like,
Yeah.
you know what your headshots and your auditions and your callbacks, and you've been on set and you kind of have a natural intuition of what a 4K camera is going to do to your face. But I think for the greener actor, be vocal, ask questions.
Yeah.
But defer to that artist, because they do know, especially if you're coming in mid-show, they do know through feedback from all the other departments what is working, what needs to be more or less. And so although you might think it's not enough makeup or it's too much makeup, ask questions, I think.
Ask questions. I was doing makeup on Class of '09, for example, and I was day playing for 5 months consistently, and we had 3 different time periods and 3 different lenses for those time periods. So I would have to really bump up the blush, and I had to put a lot of red and pink on cheeks because we had a green lens. And the actor would look at themselves and be like, this is a lot. And I would explain, yes, but we have a green lens on the camera. And so on camera, you're just going to look like it's bronzer, light bronzer. So thank you for noticing. And I would be upfront to let them know too, like, just so you know, I'm about to put a lot of red and pink on you. But yeah, I would say always have a conversation. That's a great thing to point out, is that I have been doing this for a while. And so I do know if no one should look like, too much. But to have a conversation and just communicate with your artist, I think, is most important.
Yeah. I can't imagine any sort of department head or artist who would be offended that someone's asking questions and is curious.
No, not at all.
Especially if you were.
I can't imagine.
If you're phrasing it in a curious way, not in an attacking or offended way.
Yes.
Of like, what?
Right.
Because if I'm facing the mirror, I'm like, that's maybe setting the tone for some sort of tension in the room. Yeah. But if it's more of that curiosity, I think anybody in the world, right? Any conversation where you're curious to know about them, know about their job, people are happy to share about their job and their experience. And so I think if you approach it from that curiosity standpoint, you'll end up illuminating more of their job to you, and that makes the next one even easier. And I found a little bit of that reading the room, being nice, being curious goes a long way towards how you're received the next day or the next time you see that artist on a new set. I've had makeup artists and hair people who are in those disciplines who remember me faster than I remember them, and that's a very good feeling to know that you left some sort of positive impression. Based on the reception. I try to make it my job. I look at names on the call sheet before I get to those trailers to see, do I recognize these names?
That's a good thing to do.
Yeah. Because then I don't play the game of like, what do I remember you from? Hopefully I've already figured it out. So I can be like, we worked on, and they're like, oh my gosh, yes. Yeah. And then instead of them playing the game of like, I remember you.
I totally remember you. It's so good to see you again, Matt.
Something that has come up in other interviews in this series is, do you ever run into issues with character name versus actor name?
Yes, that's so hard.
And do you have a preference of how you navigate that? Because a lot of times whoever is introducing you into the trailer will say, this is Matthew, he's our cop number 3. They try to clarify right there. That way you can look at your call sheet and any sort of notes that you already have. But are there any other issues that come up in regards to that?
Well, it's just my brain and my ADD. It's hard for me to remember. If you never know if the set in general, if the ADs and PAs are going to call you by your set name, by your character name, or your real name. That's just what gets me confused. I always try to, I have a label maker, and I put that on everybody's little bag or pencil box or whatever I'm keeping all your brushes together in. And so I'll put matte cop number 3 so that's never confusing. And then because I used to be a sales rep, I always repeat in my head their real name, their character name, real name, because if one person is calling them by their character name, but then this other artist or my department head is calling by this name, or if I'm the department head, I want to know both. But it is quite confusing for me. But I feel like I never really know if it's going to be one or the other. And so I just try and label them as both. Yeah.
So I think the next part of the journey to talk about is either I've had a lot of time to wait in my trailer, maybe even to nap, which has implications for hair for certain. But that time between that first visit to you, when we have maybe that 15, 20, maybe the glorious 45 minutes, and it's been very relaxed and you feel happy, I feel happy with the results. And the next time you see me is either for a touch-up before set, or maybe it's not until set. Any red flags there, especially if I'm tempted to take a nap?
I would say, please don't take a nap. I mean, we got up before you guys, so we understand. And we're not napping, even though you're the one that has this nice couch to nap on. If you do nap, I've worked with talent that nap like sitting up. Unless you're the celebrity A-list talent, please don't nap is my thing, because I do hair also for non-union stuff. And I do want to mention something about when they touch up your hair and then you go like this, like as soon as they leave. I'll mention that in a second. But for the hair artists, sometimes we get like a minute to touch everybody up, and it's hair plus makeup at the same time. And so both of us are on you. Just don't make it harder. We're so thrilled that you got a chance to maybe take a nap, but if you could just be mindful that your hair and makeup does matter. Because I have, like, if I've ever had background, for example, and let's say they're featured background, because it's a little more important because they're featured. And then if they go take a nap and then you have like a pillow indentation on your face, I can't get that off. Oh, also sunglasses, very important. If you know that you are on set at 10 and you are in the makeup trailer, let's say you begin at 9 to 10, well, an hour is going to be enough time. But let's say that you're on a non-union shoot or a non-union commercial and you have to show up makeup ready. Do not wear your sunglasses on the way to set, because you're going to have indentions right here, and I can't get that off. Like, I've tried to massage, I've tried color correction, but it's an indention in some people, so please don't do that. Be mindful. But back to the hair thing, when let's say somebody is touching up, you're on set and you're going to shoot any second now. We set your hair, and then your buddy says something funny. Just don't turn your head to the right or the left ever. Just get used to the statue. Just be a statue. What was that? Oh, that's funny. You're going to look weird, but your artist is just going to be beaming at you from Video Village like, good job. Thank you so much. Because when you go like that, I have to run in again. And sometimes the director's like, we already gave you last looks. They're not always that kind. Sometimes they are, but sometimes they won't let us go back in. And then you have this weird thing right there. And then after we do the take, they're going to be like, hair, can you run in? I wanted to run in a second ago. So it just makes it a lot easier if they set you and if you just like don't move your shoulders. Yeah.
Just a point of clarification. What Beth is not saying is to be stiff and robotic during your scene. No, not at all. Once they've yelled action, please be natural. Do whatever the scene requires. That's why there's going to be another last looks before the next setup, before the next take. What she's saying is that after hair, makeup, and wardrobe have stepped away and approved your last looks, don't mess it up. Certainly not before action is called.
I think there's a broader note in there, which is actors should already be more self-aware than the average human.
They should, yeah.
I say should, but I don't think a lot of actors are, especially once the nerves or the excitement of being on set takes over. And now you get these horse blinders and you aren't aware of your surroundings and you aren't aware of some of these things. And some of it is that you actually have the mental capacity to still be thinking of it. You're just ignorant to it.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important to just know that. But I think overall actors need to become more aware of what that artist is doing in that moment at last looks and how that will have ramifications if I undo it, right, in 5 seconds. If the makeup artist comes to do last looks, and then I get an itch on my face and I start to scratch it,
Yeah, tap. Oh, this is good. Always tap.
I love that.
So yeah, just never use your nails and go like that because your canvas is perfected. And we don't want to we don't want to upset the first AD and the director by being like, I'm so sorry, I've got to run in again. Because they're always wanting to like finish on time because OT affects, I know it affects us as actors really well, but they don't want to go into OT. So every second matters when you're on set.
And I've done things in my own videos where, and I felt it in the moment, and then I'm watching playback where I scratch my forehead with my thumbnail because I have just a tiny little itch. And I don't even think it's an itch. I think it's some sort of nervous tick thing. And then I'm like looking at this red spot that's for the rest of the video, and it doesn't really show up that much. But I think the point I'm getting at is we just need this self-awareness that you need to try to be more in tune with your body, with your face, which brings me to sweating. How much of that do I need to tell you ahead of time? A lot of times I'll have the artist ask me, do you sweat? Which thankfully I don't perspire in my face much, but I know a lot of people that's the first thing that happens, right? They don't even get the armpits first. They get like,
that's unfortunate. Man, that stinks.
For me, I get the body perspiration first, which oftentimes won't show up. But then my face is the last thing to start perspiring, which I'm very thankful for. But yeah, is that something that needs to be talked about ahead of time?
It's a kind thing to mention. I actually have a lot of male talent who will say, I'm a sweater. And I really appreciate that because I can usually tell based on their skin if they have like more oily skin, who's going to be more prone to oil and sweat. But sometimes I can't tell, like, oh, you are. Thank you. I wouldn't have known. And so then I'll put like a really heavy duty. I don't use the no sweat stuff that has aluminum, like an aluminum toner that is like our antiperspirants that completely blocks perspiration because I just feel like it's so bad for you. But I would use that if I knew that you're a heavy, heavy, profuse sweater. Because unless the scene would call for that, but most of the times it doesn't, like especially on commercial and most shows that I do. But I think it's a nice thing to mention. Yeah.
Okay, great. So we've now gotten to set. Maybe those touch-ups have been done. Hopefully there's no permanent creases in people's face from the pillow.
Yeah.
Or the sunglasses that
or
they
the sunglasses.
wore.
During a smoke break even, like just be mindful.
Or getting bussed to set, maybe you're in a golf cart and it's sunny and so you feel like, oh. Okay, so now any sort of things that come up, we've sort of addressed the idea of hair or makeup that has been just perfected right before we're recording, or maybe even we're speeding already. Anything that creeps up during the performance, between takes, that actors might want to think about or watch out for, or are things you're looking for?
Something to be considerate of for my female actors, again, is when we put the lipstick on, the ladies, to ask for a straw. Like if I didn't offer you one, if you have a water bottle, I will tend to be like, do you have a water bottle I can put a straw in for you? Because I don't have cheap lipsticks. I wish that I did. I have had a lot of people ask me, like, what are some good drugstore brands? I don't know. I think Revlon's good. But I use like high-end Dior, Charlotte Tilbury. I use a lot of nice lipsticks that even NARS and MAC, like it still costs a little more than like a drugstore. So if your lips are totally freshly set and you are ready, don't take a water bottle and just put my $30 to $40 lipstick all over the rim. I had a talent most recently, who I will not mention, who just would do that a lot, or she would put her straw and just like really chomp down on it. And so I would have to just I never would really sit and relax after last looks. I would be like waiting for the AD and just waiting for the last second. And then I would do it one more time because it's going to be all over the bottle or the straw. That's a silly thing, but it's kind of important too, because our lipsticks are expensive.
And I think, part of this series of interviews is about, as an actor, if I can start to be more sensitive and more aware of what you do, it just makes our relationship better. It makes you want to, make me look better, as opposed to it being a job. It becomes like, oh, I really like this talent.
Yeah.
And you being more in tune with that and having a good time and wanting even more than your job requires for me to look good. It just makes my day better. It makes me look better, and it's just like that rising tide lifts all ships. And so, like you said, while it's not a deal breaker for them to lose a little bit of lipstick.
Yeah, it's not a big deal, but if that happens every single break, it's just and we do get a kit fee. It's just being mindful and considerate, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Most actors probably aren't trying to be ornery. They're just either ignorant or they're nervous, and so I think it's more of a call to just be a little bit more considerate, be more. That can tend to actually take your nerves away, as if I'm thinking more of you.
Exactly.
Then I'm not thinking about myself and my first line of the scene I'm about to shoot, and it can tend to lower my own blood pressure.
I think too, for artists, if any artists watch this, if there's any other actor artists like me, I think it's really nice to be sensitive to the actor. When it is a scripted show, I do scripted, but I also do a lot of non-scripted competition shows, game show types. But if the actor has a lot of lines, the artist should also be considerate and mindful not to ask their whole life history, because they could easily be nervous. They probably are nervous if this is their first day, and they are trying to remember things. So like, common courtesies of like, hello, it's so nice to meet you, a brief exchange, but then to just be quiet so that they can go over their lines. And if the actor talks to you, then you engage as much as they engage with you, I would say, for the artist. But I think it's all just a dance of being considerate to whatever the person in front of you needs, and being mindful of them having needs, and not just be so self-centered and in your own tunnel that you're just thinking about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There have been times where I hear last looks, and I'm the only actor on camera. This happened to me recently, my last booking, where I was the only actor on camera, and it was like last looks, and no one came.
What?
No one came to do anything.
Did they say anything like, he's good?
I didn't hear it, but it was also, they were pretty far away. And so I say that jokingly because I didn't, my hair's short. Not much is going to happen between takes.
And you don't sweat on your face.
And I don't sweat on my face.
No scratches.
I don't have lipstick that I'm, putting all over things. So I didn't take offense to it, because I tend to be low maintenance. I don't get a lot of wardrobes that need a lot of fussing with from the wardrobe department. So anyways, but I've had that experience where you hear last looks and you're like, or it is an ensemble, and of course the celebrity is getting tons of attention, and somebody just kind of looks at you and goes, yeah. And then
I know. That's happened to me as an actor too. We were filming in August outside, and nobody was coming to touch us up. I do find though that when the makeup artist learns that I'm in the union and I also do TV makeup, they do tend to come and be a little more attentive. But when I worked on a show, I had to be like, we would like touch-ups, us three. I am profusely sweating, so if you wouldn't mind, or give it to me, I'll do it. But then they'll kind of kick it in gear and be like, you're right, I should pay attention to them too, and not just look at Viola Davis, because she's cool too. But, we're booked here to make everybody look good as well. So pay attention. Yeah. Yeah.
I think, that's a subtle note of, that maybe goes under that umbrella of reading the room, where sometimes that artist who, maybe it's the person who is traveling to set with you, it might have not have been the person you were in the chair with, might be somebody else. They might be having a bad day, or they're stressed out by the needs of what's going on with celebrity A and B over here, and you might sense that you're getting ignored or overlooked, and I think it just goes back to asking questions, staying curious, and not getting combative or resentful. Which, being a passive 9 on the Enneagram, I can tend to just kind of shrink myself and not say anything. But I do get vocal, because when I do start to feel the perspiration, when I can start to feel these temples feeling like they're, and I've had it where I'm like, I've got to be sweating.
Well, and especially if you wipe it off and there is water, there's sweat there, then you know.
But there's been times where I just sense the starting of it, but like the layer of makeup is still keeping it in check. But I just get vocal, like, are you sure that I'm not? And then they do a thorough look, and like, no, you're good. They might still pat it down just to appease me. But I do think to not just always assume you've been taken care of, that it is a dialogue.
It is, yeah.
And that they might be distracted by other things that could be their faults, or it could not be their fault, right? And we don't know, and it's not really, my job as the actor to discern that. It's just to maybe speak up for myself and realize that I earned this space on the set, and not for that to blow my ego up, but just to make me not feel small.
I think that's such a good thing to point out because yes, you earned that day. You are there because you are supposed to be there, and you do matter. What you look like does matter. And if you feel sweat and you don't, and also if you see the artist just talking over there and they're not looking at the monitor, don't feel bad to just go up and say, I believe that I'm sweating. Can you double check me? Or to ask for a sweat mop, those little folded up pieces of paper towel, the Viva paper towels. We call those sweat mops. You can ask for a sweat mop and then ask to keep one in your pocket. Sometimes people are just carried away with their friends and they're genuinely not paying attention sometimes. And so it is always a conversation, like you said. Just speak up. I think it's really important to do that if you're kind. Yeah. Hey, makeup. Just don't do that.
Hey, everybody, I haven't had last looks yet. I just wanted everybody to know this.
How do my teeth look?
Great. So, and if anything else pops up in that sort of onset experience, certainly stop me. But otherwise, let's maybe segue into that. Okay, I've gotten the note that I've been wrapped. Anything that I need to worry about immediately and or after I've gotten out of wardrobe and I'm back at my trailer. I know for me personally, as a guy where I maybe don't feel like they did a lot of makeup to me to begin with, many a show I've just left without going back to the makeup trailer. If I've had special effects makeup or anything heavy, then I will usually take advantage of that. If anyone is still even in the makeup trailer at that point, because
they should be.
Sometimes it's so late and there might be, one person in there, or I've been wrapped before anybody else has been wrapped. And so
everybody's on set.
Yeah, everyone's on set and it's a late night. But is there anything else that either makes your job easier or maybe actors should feel empowered to ask for? Because sometimes I felt like, well, I don't want to bother them by going back to the makeup trailer, to ask for a wipe or whatever.
Yeah, but we should, like when I am day playing and I'm assisting a key and a department head, they have often said, can you go back to the trailer and take off so-and-so's makeup? They just got wrapped. So if the department head and key are paying good attention and they have the mental space to think and plan, then they should send somebody back to take care of you. But back with me bringing my own makeup to set too, I would say for the gentlemen who don't wear makeup, obviously, some do, but maybe I would bring a pack of wipes with me just in case too, because sometimes we're not able to go back and give you the hot towel. I think that's such a luxury to do that and give that, but sometimes nobody is available. So just to be able to take care of yourself too, if you hate the way makeup feels and you just want your face to be clean before you go back to your hotel if you're out of town or before you go meet somebody at dinner, I would just bring your own wipes. It is such a luxury to come to set and get pampered, like we tend to get pampered as actors sometimes. But honestly, it is such a fast-moving machine, and we can't really pamper and cater the way that we would like. So you might as well just bring the things that make you feel good, whether it is your makeup that you prefer, if you want to use your own foundation and your own powders, or face wipes at the end of the day. I would just take care of yourself in that way because sometimes we just don't have the time.
That's great. And I think then the final question would be, especially since you play both sides, talent and artist, what would be in your set bag? I'm looking for maybe any sort of hacks, things like, floss, having your own floss, or, a nail file to just, kind of.
But we're in charge of your nails. Yeah, makeup artists are in charge of your nails. Great. Can we mention that real quick? Yeah, Okay, so one time I was this a commercial? It was a commercial for a fast food chain. And this female actress came in and she had super long acrylic nails with a design on them. And I asked her director, is this what she auditioned with? Because I knew that it wasn't. And she said no. So she just got those. It was like within a week, a couple days. And she came to set with them, and I let her know that I have to cut them and paint them and refile them. I timed myself. It took a whole hour because they're very thick, the acrylics are. Is it called? Yeah, it's an acrylic. I don't do that, so I forget. But I had to cut them, and and then file them, and then paint a few coats of a natural color on top, because she had a full-on design with bright colors. There was some turquoise and orange in there. So, oh gosh, that's so important. Your nails. A veteran actor is going to know to come with a very natural bubble gum or a clear color, just something neutral. But that is where these greener, newer actors need to just be mindful, is if you are wearing red nail polish and you just got your nails done the day before, but you got booked the day before that, you can't do red. You can't do black. You've got to have it neutral. It's super, super important that the performance is the main thing, and that people watching the screen are not distracted by bright nails. So that is something to keep in mind, because we are in charge of your nails. But yeah, back to you. So floss. Yeah, I always have floss. I always have a nail file. Eye drops are important. I will do the individual flossers. I actually keep them. If an actor wanted to keep like a tiny little, is it called a DOS bag?
A DOP kit.
DOP kit. If they wanted to keep a tiny DOP kit for set in their car, I think that wouldn't be the worst idea, to have some individual flossies. I keep those in my car. There's this anti-shine that I swear by. It's made by L'Oreal. I would get that too, and I would have it for auditions as well in your house or wherever you go if you come to get taped. It's called Miracle Blur by L'Oreal. Don't go to a store. It's too hard. I went one time. I order it on Amazon. I get the one with SPF in it, because that's what the artist used on me this one time, and she just told me to always get that, so I've never veered. L'Oreal Miracle Blur Anti-Shine. If you are an oily person, I would have that in my car, in some sponges, like a little block of sponges, and then put that in your shine spots. When you go to set or when you're doing auditions, keep it in your DOP kit. I think that's super important. Even more important, I would say, than powder, because it works that good, especially for bald men. It works like a charm on bald men. With the lights right here, it dulls it completely out. It's like a miracle blur.
Because like we have oil blotters that we keep here that are a great thing to have as well.
That too, and the DOP kit oil blotters.
Yeah. Well, cool.
Yeah, maybe we could post some links at the end or something. Yeah. Like Clean and Clear does good oil blotters. There's also generic brands that you could get at Target or Walmart. The Miracle Blur flossies should be easy, but I would say those are important. Oh, lip balm. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
I've worked with so many male talent who are about to go on screen and they do not have lip balm. They don't own it. And their lips are so cracked and there's texture. Guys, it's very important. This is your face, and back to our face being our commodity, and we need to not have textured lips, okay? Or skin hanging off. I've had actors who had visible skin hanging off, and I always carry an exfoliating lip thing. And if I have the time, I'll be like, okay, take this, go to the bathroom. I need you to do this, and then come back, and then I'll put lip balm on. But then for the love of God, buy lip balm. It makes no sense. Yeah. But that's important too.
Yeah, and it's winter and my lips are dry, even though I try to moisturize. And but in the summertime, I think you can get lulled into a sense of you not needing it, and so that's a good one. Well, great. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any other things. We'll put links in the show notes below of any other products, and certainly you can leave comments of your own hacks of what you might put in your on-set DOP kit. Maybe just to tie this whole thing up in a nice bow, it's about that collaboration. Not to show up expecting them to make magic out of nothing. You know, like you want to show up with the minimum amount of that moisturizer. If you're in a non-union or a low-budget set where they say come makeup ready, then don't come with a bare face.
Yes, please don't, because they'll be like, oh, I knew that you were going to be here. Yeah, but we only have 15 minutes. Oh my gosh. And then it's just so stressful. And we don't want to transfer stress to you, but it's inevitable. So just be mindful.
Yeah, don't treat it like a spa day. It's
Yeah, and don't show up with wet hair. That's happened too. On industrials before, not a scripted show or anything, but I've had talent show up with wet hair, and when I'm doing hair and makeup, and it's I have to go with my head held down to the director and the AD to be like, I am so sorry, she came with wet hair. Well, you only have this many minutes. Okay, well, I'm gonna do my best. So just come with it dry. It's not a spa day, is my point. Yeah. It's not.
It's a collaboration, and I think if we approach it more so of knowing what you are bringing to the table, what you're allowed to ask, what you're allowed to ask for, but also to having that sensitivity of and the curiosity about what is your job and what can I do to make your job easier. I think if we all sort of approached it more like that, instead of just expecting to be pampered and to be taken care of, then it would make everyone, like I was saying earlier, everyone feel better, and that translates on the set. It translates into the final performance if because usually you're the first person I see after the base camp PA. Is someone in the makeup trailer. Maybe hair comes first. It depends on how busy things are, but and that sets the tone for the rest of my day. And so I think if we all sort of think more about each other, it just makes the whole process that much easier and fun.
Like in every area of life. How about that?
Oh yeah, I like that too. There's an old adage from golf, which is you fix your ball mark plus one other. So a lot of times when your ball hits the green, it puts a little indentation, and you can get this little tool that helps fix and keeps the greens nice and smooth. So the courtesy, the thing that you're supposed to do is to fix your ball mark so that the green stays flat for the next ball that might hit the green, but to fix one extra one. And it's, to me, it's such a great life philosophy, which is not to just be like, well, I'm only worried about my stuff. It's like to think about just that one extra thing, that one extra person, that one extra task that could be done, that would just save someone else a little bit of time. If everyone did it, then there wouldn't be an extra ball mark to fix, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's sort of it's a good philosophy for being on set too, which is not just to be worried about your stuff, but to also be aware of not just your scene partner, but all these other disciplines.
Yeah, there's a lot of people around you. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Beth, for being
You're
here.
so welcome. Thanks for having me.
Wow, that interview was chock full of wisdom. My thanks once again to Beth Pilgreen for being so amazing. If you have any questions or your own tips for what to carry in your on-set bag, please drop a comment below. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on set.